Alrighty, so we're looking at predicting word equations, specifically with acid reactions. So before we go any further, it's probably a good idea to identify a bit of assumed knowledge of things that we need to know. Before we go in, we need to know what happens when we get an acid-metal reaction, which is hydrogen and salt, acid-carbonate reaction, which is salt, water, and a carbon dioxide, and an acid-base, which gives us salt and water. Happy with that? How do we know if we've got an acid? Has the word acid, very good. How do you know if you've got a base? What's the key word for base? Oxide, we're looking for the word oxide. How do you know if you've got a carbonate? Look for the word carbonate. How do you know if you've got a metal? Metal by itself, correct? Salt, this is the tricky one. How do we name our salts?
From the acid?
Yeah, so you get something from the acid and you get something from the other material. What do you get from the other? Because in this situation, these are all what? Hydrochloric gives chloride, nitric gives nitrate, and sulfuric gives sulfate. What are they all? Are they metals or non-metals? Non-metals. Where do they go when we're naming our salt? First or second? Second. They go. It's something sulfate or something nitrate. Correct. So what do we put the first? What goes first? At every salt. Yep. What's a salt made of? Salts are made of a non-metal Na? Metal. So if the non-metal goes second, what must go first? The metal. And we get the metal from the other material. Okay. So, let's come back to these questions. That's what we need to know before we start approaching them. The first step to every one of these questions is identifying what type of reaction we have. Whether it's acid metal, we'll call that 1. Whether it's acid carbonate 2 or acid base 3. Now you may need to look at the products or the reactants to figure that out. So let's look at question 2 on the board. We've got something plus sulfuric acid. Does that help us? Do we know at this point in time what type of reaction we have? If you haven't looked any further, do you know? No. You only know the acid, don't you? So you don't know whether it's an acid metal, acid base, acid carbonate. But as you go further, what's that? Copper sulfate. What do we call that? That's our salt, water, and carbon dioxide. Now do we know what reaction we have?
Yeah.
What reaction's that, Charlie?
Carbon.
It's a carbonate, and you're very good. I'm just going to slow you down. So we've got a carbonate reaction. Now Charlie just said copper carbonate, which is 100% correct. But how did she know? How did she know it was copper carbonate, not something else carbonate?
Is it because it has a 2 next to the copper?
Yeah, the 2's not important for now. That comes in later on. You're on the right track though. Kiana, what do you think?
How is it carbonate?
How do you know? Well, you missed that part. So how do you know it's carbonate?
Because there's like 3 parts.
There's 3 parts. Perfect. I'm happy with that. There's 3 parts, of which one is carbon dioxide.
Copper sulfate.
If you don't include the copper, you have to ask yourself, where did that come from? It can't come from nowhere, can it? So it has to have been somewhere in our reaction beforehand. The only place we can have it is at the front of our carbonate. Copper carbonate. Happy with that? Next reaction, we've got magnesium oxide plus something equals magnesium nitrate plus water. What type of reaction have we got, Adam? For question 3.
Acid metal.
Are you sure?
Acid base.
How do you know that?
This is only 2.
There's 2, yeah, but you need to be specific at which.
It says water.
It's got water. There's nothing wrong with that. So you've got water and a salt as your products. Very good. The other hint would be what, Charlie? What's our other hint to know that it's an acid-base reaction?
Oxide?
We see this word oxide, which tells us we're dealing with a base. Okay? So what do we need to decide here? What our acid is. And how do you know what acid it is? Where do you look to find that? Yeah, Charlie, you're all right. I'm happy with your answer. The nitrate. So nitrate tells us that our acid is nitric acid. Clear with that? Charlie, because you're on a roll, you're going to finish me off on this one here. What is going on with question 4? What type of reaction have we got?
We got a metal.
A metal and an acid? What are our products going to be?
Zinc salt.
So zinc sulfate, which is our what? What's that?
Salt.
That's our salt. Plus?
Hydrogen.
Very good. If you need tips, I think Charlie's the person to go see. Very good. Clear on that? Nothing replaces practice with these problems. Once you do a few of these, it'll make a lot more sense. I want you to pull up at number 23. Thanks. So keep going through. Pull up at number 23. Strip in.